The story begins with a man named Eddie Palmer coming back to his small hometown in Louisiana after spending. Shortly after, Eddie goes into his old bedroom. It looks exactly the same as he remembers. When he looks out the window, he sees his neighbors, a woman named Shelley and her young son Sam. Right away, it is clear they are struggling. Vivian tells Eddie that if it wasn't for Sam, she would have kicked Shelley and her boyfriend out of the trailer park a long time ago because of their bad behavior. While eating dinner, Vivian gently advises Eddie to find a job and start rebuilding his life. Vivian knows that second chances don't come easy in a small town. She warns him that feeling sorry for himself will only make things worse. Eddie listens and decides he must meet the conditions of his parole. The next day, he starts searching for work, but it quickly becomes clear that getting a job with a criminal record. He meets some old friends. They laugh and talk about their younger days. One of his friends, Daryl, proudly says that Eddie's football touchdown record was only broken a few years ago by Daryl's son. Another friend, Coles, who is now the town sheriff, greets Eddie warmly and says he hopes Eddie can get his life back together. That night, Shelley shows up at the bar and flirts with Eddie. This morning, after drinking too much the night before, Eddie steps outside early. Vivian sees him and looks surprised and worried. Old habits die hard, and Vivian fears Eddie might slip up again. By 10 a.m., she wakes up Eddie so they can go to church together, bringing Sam along. At church, people stare at Eddie and whisper about him, judging him for his past. In small communities, forgiveness often lags far behind gossip. Sam also struggles to fit in with the other children. That night during dinner, Sam tells Vivian that she was wrong to accuse Eddie of stealing. Not long after, Eddie gets a phone call. He is hired as the school janitor. It's a small success, but it feels huge to Eddie. Sam attends the same school where Eddie now works. Sam finds it easier to make friends with girls than boys. His teacher, Maggie Hayes, cares for him and looks out for him. Some people in the community suggest Vivian should call Child Protective Services to send Sam to foster care. But Vivian is upset by the idea. To her, family is built on love, not blood. One morning, Eddie catches Sam watching fairy princess cartoons and playing with dolls. Sam explains that Vivian is still asleep. Eddie senses something is wrong. When he checks, he finds that Vivian has passed away peacefully in her sleep. Vivian's funeral takes place soon after. Many people from the town come to mourn her. For Eddie and Sam, her death leaves a huge emptiness. At work, Eddie's boss tells him to take the next day off to grieve. At home, Sam sits quietly, going through Vivian's makeup bag, missing her deeply. Eddie, feeling overwhelmed, goes to the bar that night to drink. Coming home late, Eddie finds Sam asleep on the couch. The next morning, Eddie wakes him and tells him to pack his things. Confused and scared, Sam follows Eddie to the police station. Eddie explains to his friend Coles that Shelley has been missing for 2 weeks and cannot be reached.
How long she been?
Meanwhile, Eddie finds a new purpose in life. For the first time in a long time, he feels needed by someone. This feeling gives him the strength and motivation to keep moving forward. For the first time, Eddie has something and someone to fight for. The next morning, Eddie and Sam prepare breakfast together. Eddie doesn't want Sam to eat only biscuits because it is unhealthy. Next, following Eddie's advice, Sam bravely returns the stolen toy to its owner. Not long after, Sam's birthday party takes place. Maggie and Emily also come to celebrate with him warmly. Eddie surprises Sam with a ukulele as a birthday gift. Sam is very happy to receive it, even though he is not very interested in music. While the children play, Maggie quietly asks Danny about his mother. Danny shares that his mom ran away when he was just 5 years old, and Vivian later stepped in to raise him like her own child. Hearing this, Maggie decides to help Eddie sort through the old mail at the house. Among the letters, they find one from a lawyer asking Eddie to contact him about Vivian's will. It turns out that Vivian left her house and all her belongings to the church. This creates a new obstacle for Eddie, increasing his uncertainty about the evening. Maggie invites Eddie and Sam over for dinner. Sam looks cheerful and enjoys eating sweets. Gathering her courage, Maggie asks Eddie about his time in prison. It is very hard for Eddie to talk about it, but he finds the strength to share. He explains that he used to be a star player on his university's football team. After a serious injury, doctors told him he could never play again. Eddie fell into deep depression, returned home, and started living irresponsibly. There was a boy in his group who often bragged that his father kept lots of money in a safe. One day, they decided to rob the house, but the father came home early. In a panic, Eddie attacked him, making the worst mistake of his life. Later that night, Sam falls asleep and Maggie suggests Eddie tells Maggie that Shelley has returned. Their talk does not go well. Feeling lost, Eddie goes to a bar but decides not to drink. The next morning, he finds Sam sitting sadly on the porch. Sam tells Eddie that Jerry, Shelley's boyfriend, threw away his lunchbox and called him a disgrace. Eddie comforts Sam and drives him to school. Sam also tells Eddie that soon he and his mother will move in with Jerry and Sam will have to change schools. All day, Eddie thinks about the situation. Watching Jerry, Eddie realizes he is just as bad as Shelley. That same day, Eddie receives shocking news. Child Protective Services has taken Sam away. Shelley cries and explains what happened. Eddie rushes to the station, where an officer tells him that a court hearing will decide if Sam returns to Shelley or goes to an orphanage. In the evening, Eddie visits Shelley's trailer and begs her to give custody to him.
Why the fuck would I do that?
Because unless you get clean, I don't see the courts giving him back to you.
Shelley gets angry, believing Eddie is no better than her and that he is trying to buy her son off of her. Eddie warns her that the court will likely not return Sam to her because of her bad lifestyle. Shelley screams that she will quit her bad habits for Sam and throws Eddie out. With no other option, Eddie asks Maggie for help. She agrees to go with him to court. At the hearing, the judge says he sees that Eddie has changed, but Eddie needs stable housing and must finish his probation first before applying for custody. Tearfully, Eddie says he just wants to care for Sam, because he knows what it feels like to be abandoned. Still, the judge dismisses his request for the police car, crying and shouting at his mother, accusing her of never loving him. And Eddie struggles to hold back his tears. In jail again, Eddie sits feeling hopeless. But soon, Coles brings good news. Shelley changes her statement and admits she asked Eddie to take Sam to get food. Because of this, all charges against Eddie are dropped. Full of new hope, Eddie goes straight to Maggie, who is caring for Sam. Soon after, Shelley shows up, but Sam refuses to speak to her.
You think I'm a terrible mother?
Lights up with joy. Together, they step into a brand new chapter of their lives as the story closes on a bittersweet but hopeful note.